Hi, Dee. Nice to have you here with us.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yes, and we're going to talk about your story today and your journey through life. And so tell us today, so you're how old today?
Today I am 57.
57 years old with
Hmm.
four children who are all
Yes.
grown adult children now.
Yes.
And you've been weight training for how long?
I was trying to remember that. I can't, it seems like I've been doing it for so long. I want to say I think I came to see you, I think it was 2017
Yeah, I think about then. Yeah.
in the
Okay.
spring. And I remember because I had kind of been following you a little bit on Facebook because, we had met at the Y, and then you left. And on Facebook, I would get these little messages about programs that you were doing. And you had one, it was the Little Black Dress
Oh,
Project.
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. And I saw
Yeah.
that and I thought, you know what? I think it's time. I need to try something new. So I signed up to do that.
Now, so many people have stories of, they were very overweight when they were younger. It's been something that they've carried through their life. And, for them to get to be able to make the change, that's a lot of people's stories, right? But your
Mhm.
story is a bit different. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
we're going to go back a little bit in time, and I'm going to take a picture. It's like, there was a show years ago, like This Is Your Life or something like that. Remember when
Yeah.
they, yeah, I'm aging myself. But okay, I'm going to show you this picture. Okay.
Mhm.
And here we have your wedding day.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
how old were you when you got married?
I was 27.
27.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and obviously you were not overweight.
No.
Okay. Have you ever been overweight when you were younger?
No.
So you've pretty much been at a normal weight until you started having children. So you got married at 27. You started having children pretty much right away, I assume.
Uh, yeah, I was turning 29 when I had my first son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
then, so you had four children over from that point until you were about, can we see this picture?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So, we're moving through time. So you have your four children,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And as you know, from a mother who's raising children, especially when you have more than two, okay, life gets very consuming,
Yes.
right? Now, during that time frame, what was like diet, exercise, what was that like for you?
Um, there was no exercise per se. It was, there's 9 years between my oldest and my youngest.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty weird. It was a pretty busy household. It was constant, go, go, go all the time. I always made, we always had dinner as a family. I always made not big meals, but I grew up, eating relatively large meals by anybody's standards,
Yes.
meat, potatoes, salad, vegetable, bread, every
Mm-hmm.
dinner. So I tended to cook similar to that, not all of that all the time, but we always had big meals at dinner. But as far as exercise, I didn't really do anything.
You didn't, yeah. So that was not like a main focus in your life at all.
No,
No.
not at all.
So when we look at this picture here, this is with your mom.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you took that picture back then, how did you perceive yourself?
Um, I knew I should maybe lose a little bit of weight, but there again, in 2008, my youngest son was 7. There was still, I did a lot of volunteering in the schools. I always chaperoned field trips. All four of my kids were playing sports at the time. Nobody was driving yet. So it was a pretty busy time. I knew I needed to try to do something for myself, but there just wasn't time in my day for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So also too, so yeah, there wasn't time in your day. Now, from when you got married to this point here, okay, talk about like over the from marriage to getting older. How was your weight gain? What did you notice?
Um, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention, you know, when I was having my babies. I always gained. I think the least amount I gained was 25 pounds with my third son.
Mm-hmm.
But I always gained like at least 30 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it would come off. But I did realize that over the years, my weight would creep up a little bit at a time. Not a
Mm-hmm.
huge noticeable amount, but I always, when I would go to the doctor and get weighed, it was never going down. It was always creeping up.
Mm-hmm. So every year you would notice like a pound or pound and a half as an
Hmm.
overall average, right?
Right,
Come on.
right,
Yes, which is typical. And then people say to themselves, oh, well, it's because you're getting older. Oh,
right,
well, it's because, you've had 4 children, you
right.
know, or
Hmm.
it's because, well, this is what happens during menopause, right? That's
Yes.
another one of the things that, is said often. So when we see these pictures, so here in this picture now, this was how long ago?
This is, let's see, this is this is 2019. This is at my niece's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
This is
2019.
September,
Okay.
2019, September.
Yes. Now at this point you're about 2 years into weight training,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. So now when you started weight training, right? Did you ever think like back in those times that you would actually lift weights?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. No, lifting weights was for men.
Uh-huh.
And you got big muscles. It was just not something women did. It was for women, you know, when I was younger, it was jazzercise.
Hmm.
It was that sort of thing. It was never weight training. I didn't know anybody that did any kind of weight training ever.
Yes, I remember you being somewhat like skeptical when you first started, saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
well, we'll give this a try and we'll see how this goes." Right?
right. Hmm.
Yeah. And then, but what were you looking? So as you started getting older and you said, okay, there's usually a moment in time when people realize like, okay, I need to do something.
Yes. So my youngest son was in high school
Mm-hmm.
and he was driving,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't as much for me to do for my family at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was still, you know, doing the laundry. But 2017, three of my kids were out of the house, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest was the only one left at home in high school. And I realized that I needed to start doing something for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had been going to the Y, and I was doing classes 5 days a week, and didn't change my eating at all, but I was being more active, and I thought for sure that I would see some kind of weight loss or muscle building or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for probably 6 or 8 months, and I got discouraged because I didn't see any change at all, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week, classes every day. Um, I was doing all kinds of aerobic type classes and things, and I was very discouraged.
Mm-hmm. Because things weren't changing. Yeah.
Right,
And then so and since you've been a normal weight your whole life, right? You've never been on a diet,
right.
right?
No,
Never
mm-mm,
really dieted.
no.
And then this was something unusual because now like, okay, you can't take the weight off just doing what you were doing. Nothing is, working. So then, yes, we start learning new things. We start counting, learning how to weight train, learning how to do macros. What would you say was one of the things that you came to understand about a woman's body that you need to do in order to change, especially when you approach this in your 50s?
Um, I think what I learned is it's a combination of things. Like, you can't just do the weight training. You can't just do the running. You have to do all of it. You need to do cardio. You need to do weight training. You need to really figure out how many calories, how many, what your macros are that your body needs to be your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can manipulate those to get to help you get the changes that you need.
Yes, because a lot of women in their 40s into their 50s, especially when they were not, people who worked out very much. Um, and especially when their weight isn't terribly overweight, because your highest weight was what?
130.
130. And you're 5 feet tall, right?
I'm 5 feet tall.
Right? Which is a
Yes.
reasonable weight, okay? Because the way we calculate that is the first 5 feet are 100 pounds. Every inch thereafter, okay, is worth approximately 5 pounds, okay, give or take 10%, right? So we can say reasonably, for you to be between 100 and 115, 120 pounds is reasonable. Okay. So now at 130, yes, you're not horribly overweight, but people try to lose weight when they're not horribly overweight, and they find that they hit this wall, right? That
Right. Well,
it doesn't.
It's hard to lose just a little bit of weight.
Yes.
And you taught me that. I didn't know that, but it's
Yes.
true. When you try to, like, when I was actually trying to do that, the scale doesn't move when you don't have a lot to lose.
And also too, it's hard to make that happen when you don't have a lot of lean mass, right? So now here you go, right? And we start teaching you how to weight train, because now we have to get you to gain more muscle. Okay. Because that muscle is a metabolism generator, right? There's a lot of impact in the pounds of muscle that you have. Over the course of time, let me see if I can find, yes, I'm going to go to this picture. Okay. See, over the course of time, you're going to see that you will, learn that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was as, not as strong, as I thought I was. True? Right?
Right.
I'm having a hard time pulling up this one little video. Hold on, I'm trying to get it. So when you started working out, I think one of the biggest, hardest realizations is realizing, like, oh my goodness, like I have to, oh, here it is. I have to be able to get stronger, right? Not only get stronger, but I have to be able to learn good form, right?
Right.
So these things are important, because if people don't know good form, right, they're not able to make these changes. So a lot of people opt for things that are fairly simple, such as like, group fitness classes, right, at the Y. Which is not bad. That is not a bad, thing to do, but it is also not something that really promotes that muscle hypertrophy, right, that we're looking for. So when we don't have that, it makes it really difficult to be able to, just get that composition change in your body, right? So when you can't get the composition change, then what do you do? Okay, so that's one of the challenges. So I am trying to, let's see if I go here. Okay, what are you seeing right now?
Oh, me squatting, back squat.
Good. Okay, so, right, we have you squatting here.
Yeah.
Now, okay, this was a very new world for you, right? To
Yes.
watch yourself, okay, squat, because that isn't something that you ever really did before. And it took a while for you to even get to this point that you were able to squat with a barbell on your back.
Oh, sure.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Along with deadlifts and, bench presses and everything else that we did, because a lot of people come in and they think that, like, okay, I'm going to start this process, right? And I should instantaneously see these results in 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Okay. What would you say to that person?
I would say no. It's going to take longer than that. It's for me, I don't even know how long it took before I really started seeing some changes. Because, we did the weight training first. I didn't add in any kind of dietary changes or anything. I think you gave me some basic macros that you kind of figured out, and my weight really didn't change much, but I could see changes in my body. Like I could feel the muffin top wasn't quite so big. Now, mind you, it was still there, but it wasn't, I could feel in my clothes were beginning to fit differently.
And this is one of the hardest things for women to realize, is because the ability to put on pounds of muscle, okay, especially when you're in your 50s, nobody tells you that after you have many children and you're, doing child raising and not putting this muscle back on your body throughout those years, okay, it takes time to add muscle, which is where you start to see that change in your body, right? So
Right.
now as you're adding muscle, your rate of muscle gain, as that goes up, can keep up with your rate of fat loss,
Mhm.
especially at your body composition type, where you're not 50 pounds overweight, 60 pounds overweight, right?
Right.
And we have women thinking, right, that, oh my gosh, I'm 130 pounds now. I have to get that scale down because my normal weight was 120. But in order to do that, for many people who are in their mid 50s, okay, and just to force that scale down, they end up actually damaging, in a way, they're more of their lean mass, their muscle tissue, because they're in such a chronic deficit. They're cutting their food down. They're just cutting down intake, cutting down calories. And then we
Mhm.
know after the age of 50, right, we have this rate of sarcopenia increasing, which is loss of lean mass, muscle
Right.
wasting.
Mhm.
Okay. So now, as you were weight training and you were getting stronger, okay, now today, right, you weigh at what, 120 pounds, about 100 and
I'm 123.
123, and you've touched 118 or 120, right?
I did when I was doing the macros with Pamela last, so 2020 January we
Mm-hmm.
started, and I did it all the way through the summer until I left to go up north for
Mm-hmm.
my vacation, and I was down into the one. I did hit 119 a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I was down into the low 120s, but
Mm-hmm.
it took me, I want to say it was 30 weeks
Mm-hmm.
of every week
Focused. Yes.
focusing, macro counting, being religious with my foods, and planning my meals every day, and eating only, and no cheating, no
Right.
BLTs, none of that. But I did. I solidly lost 9 pounds.
So you
Um,
lost, yes, 9 pounds. And then also too, what about so clothes size? What has changed clothes size?
So I had been a size 6 for a long time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
petite, obviously, because I'm 5 feet tall, but I was a six forever. And when my weight started creeping up in my mid 40s, I started looking at eights.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm actually a 2.
A two.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a 6 to a 2, which is
Hmm.
unbelievable, right? From
Yeah.
a size 6 to a size 2, but only with, like, 10-pound on average weight loss on the scale.
Right.
Okay. But in order to go from a size 6 to a size 2, okay, like we say, fat could be 5 pounds of fat could be this big, right? But 5 pounds of muscle, I mean, five
Hmm.
pounds of fat, 5 pounds of muscle is this big, right?
Right.
5 pounds of fat is this big. They're
Right.
both 5 pounds.
Hmm.
Okay. But 5 pounds of muscle being much smaller. So the amount of muscle you have put on over time, okay, has contributed to your body coming down in size. And this
Yes.
is a very hard thing for women to accept and realize, because they want, right, that scale to change, because they think if the scale would just weigh 120, then my body would look different,
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yes. The
right?
number on the scale has always, been what we look to
Yes.
decide if we are the right size person.
Yes, but no, well, scales do say, how much muscle you have, how much fat mass you have. Yes. But just because somebody loses 10 pounds does not mean they're going to go from a size 6 to a size 2.
That's right.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that is the hardest thing psychologically, I think, for women to understand. Okay. Because you can force 10 pounds off.
Oh,
Okay. You
sure,
can force it off, right?
sure.
And you can
Hmm.
get it off in a relatively, reasonable amount of time if you stick to it, no matter what. You can force it off. But okay, in order to change the composition of your body and then to be able to keep that weight off. So now something that you notice right through counting your macros and everything with Pamela is you realize too, because we put people through cycles of being able to eat more,
Hmm.
okay, in order to, when they're working out, to be able to add that muscle tissue, because you can't add muscle tissue with too much negative on one side, which is caloric intake and nutrition. Okay. And the right balance. Okay. So now you've discovered through tracking that you can actually eat how much without gaining.
So right now my macros are, I'm averaging, I believe, about 1,400 and say about 20 calories, broken down into, I get 125 grams of fat, 125 grams of protein, 41 grams of fat, and 149 carbs, which for me is a lot of food. I mean, I break it down into 5 meals a day. I'm never hungry. I can have pretty much anything I want as long as I put it in and it fits with my numbers. And that right there is keeping me anywhere between my 123 and a half to 125.
Okay. And what is the most amount that you have eaten? Because I know you've been pushed up even higher than that.
Oh yeah. I want to say I was pretty close to 1,600 calories a day.
1,600.
Yeah.
Okay. So for which some people, they don't get to those numbers. Now, of course, the taller you are, because you know, anybody under 5'4", we are at somewhat of a disadvantage. Okay. Calorically.
Yes.
Okay. I'm 5'3". Yeah. I think I've been able to push myself up to 2,100 calories. Okay. With a slight gain, but that's when I'm trying to gain more lean mass. But yes, it's the more lean mass that you have, the more you can afford to eat. Okay. So, and now you understand now through going through understanding macros, how to even tweak your own macros.
A little bit. I'm still kind of, I haven't really been doing any of that. I've been kind of staying where I am just to kind of build up a little bit more muscle before I reduce my macros again.
Yeah.
I probably, if I want to do that, I'm probably going to go back to Pamela and have her do it, just because I think she does a better job, because she knows what she's doing.
And it's helpful to have an eye.
I could tweak my own a little bit.
It's helpful to have an eye, you know, have somebody, because it does make you more compliant. Yes.
Right.
So even, you know, that's just human nature. You have somebody watching, right? It makes you more compliant because you're accountable to somebody.
Right.
Yes. And then, you know, so then you notice like, okay, I can eat this much and not necessarily gain. I don't have to just cut out carbs. I don't have to just wipe these foods off the plate. I can fit in enjoyable things and still, you know, be at a reasonable weight for myself and still maintain that size too. So even though your weight fluctuates up and down, you're still maintaining that size too.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Which is hard too psychologically, because people see the scale fluctuate and they get scared. Okay. But when you have enough lean mass and you have enough of that metabolic tissue, okay, your body can do something with that caloric intake. Okay. It could use it more effectively. And you don't have that rebound weight gain that a lot of people have when they force the scale down. Okay. And not do the process of adding muscle, which can take years. For years, you'll keep always, as long as you weight train, that's always going to be the process of adding, you know, pounds of lean mass. Nobody's ever going to get big and bulky. That's not going to happen, right? Because you've noticed over the time, you were concerned about that in the beginning. You're like, I don't want to get big and bulky, right? But nobody gets like that. I mean, unless you're on some type of growth hormone that I don't know about, like some type of steroid. Yes. Okay. But women always wonder about that. But the only time that happens is when they're lifting weights and eating way too much. Okay. Then not only are you gaining muscle tissue, but you're also gaining fat mass. Okay. Which we try to avoid for people to do, obviously. Okay. What does your boys think of you?
They don't say too much. My son Brian, who lives at home still, he lifts weights, and so we compare a lot of times what we're doing in our workouts and what we're eating, and you know, he doesn't think I should be quite so picky about counting my macros, but he understands that it's a good way for me to keep my weight in check. And so we compare workouts and things. My youngest son is just starting to work out and lifting weights. My oldest son, he lifts weights when he's not working so hard. I don't think he's been lifting lately. And my third son, he's a runner. And
Mm-hmm.
he keeps telling me I need to get more cardio in my life, which is very true because I don't really do any at all.
Yeah.
Um, he doesn't lift at all, and he runs. Um, but
Yeah.
um, but I think overall they're pretty proud of me.
That's
They
good.
um, they know that it's been, it was a struggle for a while when I had little kids. They were all home, and I didn't really have any time for myself. And now that they're all kind of doing their own thing, um, they know that I've got some time so I can take care of myself, because I've told them, I want to be around to see their kids,
Yes.
and who knows, even see their kids.
Yes, and be an active participant, very active participant in life,
Right,
right?
right.
As you're getting, there's no reason that we have to, as we get older, get feeble. We have control over that more than, we think. And
Yes.
the more that we add this lean mass muscle tissue, keeps our bones healthy, keeps our levels of inflammation in our body down. Inflammation is known to degrade the body. We don't want any of that. That's in your blood sugar, that's in certain inflammatory markers, which you don't have any of that going on, so you're in such a good place. It's like, I always relate this to good financial accounting, right? For
Oh,
retirement, right?
sure.
So we set up this place that we know when we can, okay, say, okay, yes, I can retire and live off my income, right? Yes, now we're adding this to our body, right? So we can go through these years later on and not have to, be just barely maintaining. We don't want that. You
Right.
know, we want to be able to participate as long as possible,
Hmm.
So you're doing a fabulous job, a fabulous job. And you're a different story because you didn't have a lot of the food psyche issues. You were just like, I'm getting older, like my body's not changing the way it used to. Like, what do I do to get control of this? But you didn't have a lot of those psychological food issues. You're a very compliant individual. I think if we told you to eat chocolate covered worms, you probably would,
I probably would. You told me they're
yeah.
they're good for me.
Yes. So it's so super easy, to work with someone like you because you're like, okay, I'll take the information and do it. And
Well, yeah, and I've always kind of I need a plan. Like if
yeah,
somebody just tells me what I need to do, I can implement it. It's when I'm out there and I don't have the expertise or the knowledge that you have or
yeah.
have gained over the years. It would take me way too long to go research it all and figure it all out. I just need somebody to tell me what to do and I can do it.
Yes, which I have to say is not the majority of the population.
Well, and I
Yes.
have my bobbles every once in a while too. I am very compliant, but I have to say I have my weak moments.
Yes, well, we all do.
Um,
That's human. That's human.
right, right. And
Yeah.
I try not to beat myself up over it. And I try to say, okay, it's okay. One
Yes.
day out
Yes.
of 365 is not so bad.
Yes.
But
And yes, and that's where headspace is very important. A lot of times people get in their own way with their headspace. You've
mhm,
always had very good headspace. You don't miss workouts. You come in routinely, which is why you were able to get from a size 6 to a size 2 as you got older, you
yes,
know.
yeah.
And you took the information in, and as we say, you drank the Kool-Aid, and
It's great Kool-Aid.
yes, and you'll continually be able to apply this. And there's no doubt that, I mean, there are some changes as we get older. Even myself, I started weight training before weight training was a thing for women.
Right.
Like, it wasn't a thing. And although I never wanted to be a in fitness competitor or power lifter or anything like that, for me, I like routines. I love
Yeah.
rituals and routines. I thrive on them. I need rituals and routines in my life.
Hmm.
So weight training became a ritual and routine for me. And yes, but then through the years, yes, it becoming what it is today. Weight training is very different for women today. But I've also noticed as I've gotten older, my body doesn't recover as easily, you
Right.
know? So
Hmm.
as you continue to go through this from 57 into 60 into 65, which hopefully you'll continue to weight train, right? We start to
Hmm.
notice that like, oh, okay, these workouts take me a little longer to recover from.
Right.
Injuries, if I get injured, which is part of the risk of training, that happens sometimes.
Hmm.
Occasionally it happens. Don't recover as quickly from them as we did when we were in our 20s, you know
Absolutely.
but this is no reason to not do it, right? You just,
No,
yes. Yeah.
not
Because
at
you
all.
had, yeah, your back injury, right?
Last summer, yeah, I
Yes.
did, and it took me a good 3 to 4 months
Yes.
before I could start lifting again, so,
Yes.
yeah.
But to not go into it because of an injury, an acute injury or something like that is not where you want to be, because the effects of not doing it completely are way more devastating than continuing.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, mhm.
So, well, you're going to be able to relate. The story's going to relate to a lot of people.
I
Okay.
hope so,
It
I hope
is,
so.
because there's a lot of people who are in that range that they don't have 50, 60, 70 pounds to lose.
Mhm,
Okay. They have 10, maybe 15 pounds to lose.
mhm,
But it is so hard when you're 5'1", 5 feet, 5 feet
mhm.
2. It is very hard.
It
Okay. And
is.
then you don't have a lot of muscle tissue. Okay. So
Mhm,
those two combinations to break the cycle in your brain and say, no, actually what I need to do is change the composition of my body.
yeah,
Okay. Not just make the scale say such and such.
mhm,
Okay.
right.
So you have learned that lesson, and you look terrific and you look fabulous. And
Thanks.
yes, you just got smaller and tighter and more pulled in over time and way stronger. And yeah. And now your deadlift is up to how much?
I think, oh gosh, I think I did 145.
145. Okay. So
I think that was a set of 3.
very good. So your one rep max most likely is 1.5 times your body weight.
Mhm,
Okay. So that's excellent. And that's a great goal for people to shoot for. Okay. A
okay,
great goal to shoot for is to be able to bench press your body weight as a one rep max, to
okay,
get to these points.
mhm,
And your body, in order to reach those goals, yes, it takes time, but as your body's getting to that point, then we're doing that cycle of gaining muscle and,
mhm,
putting on more lean mass. And this is just essential for everything throughout life,
right,
bone health,
right,
everything.
mhm,
But no, you're doing terrific. Okay.
thanks.
And yes, and you've stuck with it. And probably in the beginning, in the little black dress days, you didn't think you probably would.
Well, I didn't, and it was funny because I thought, well, it was a 6-week program. It's like I can do anything for 6 weeks, and if I don't like it, I don't have to do it anymore. But I'm going to
Yes.
give it 6 weeks,
Yeah.
and I tell you, after that, I couldn't imagine not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just I love it. I love doing it. I love feeling strong. I love the ladies that I've gotten to know over the years. We all have our own stories, and
Yes.
everybody is so willing to share all
Yes.
their experiences.
Yes.
And I'm absolutely, I don't care. Someday, if I'm not available or your gym is not here, I'm going to have a gym in my house so I can keep going.
Yes.
Because
You
I
should.
can't imagine not doing it now that I've found something that works.
Yes.
Um, I'm not creaky anymore. I can bend over. I can squat down at home. Nothing hurts anymore. I used to have little itty bitty, just little pains here and there. They're all gone.
Yeah. That
I
does.
mean, I just move so much better.
Yes. It's like lubrication, really, for your
Yeah,
joints. Yeah.
it's true. It
Yeah.
really has helped so much in that way.
Yes, movement is lubricant, and yes, a lot of those little achy pains do go away.
Hmm.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So,
fabulous.
well, thank you so much, Dee, for
Oh, it's
sharing.
my pleasure. Thanks.
Yes, don't go anywhere. I'm just going to shut the recording off.
Okay.